Good morning to everyone. Now we are going to see about pervasive application architecture. So before that, we will see about a previous video. In the previous video, we saw about a pervasive web application architecture. In this architecture, we saw about some introduction in about architecture, and then how the scalability and availability took important role in that architecture. After that, general architecture about scalable topology. The last topic is how to develop web application in pervasive computing. So one of the main subtopic is pervasive application architecture here. Let's see about that. In this architecture, uh, the model view controller, which means MVC pattern, it is taking important role in this architecture. It is used to develop a web applications, and this MVC model view controller is also called architectural pattern or software design pattern. Okay, using this components, which means this model view control, these are all the components in this MVC pattern. Using this model view controller, they can develop their web application. Okay, let's see one by one. First one is model. The model is lowest level of the pattern. It is responsible for managing or maintaining the data of the applications, and it responds to the request from the view, and it also responds to instructions from the controller. Next one is view. It is responsible for displaying the data to the user, which means presentation of the data in a particular format. And also they are scripted based templating system like JSP, ASP, PHP. Okay. Next one is controller. Here the controller using software code that controls the interaction between the model and view. It is responsible for responding to the user and perform um, perform on the data model. The controller receive the input and validate that one. After that, perform that input using some operation. After that, modify that input and then send to the data model. So here um, there are support some script based templating system like servlet, EJP and JSP. So the controller is implemented as a servlet, the model implemented as a EJP, and view implemented as a JSP. Okay. Look at this diagram. This one is the data flow about MVC model, MVC patterns. Let's see about this. Here the controller receives all the requests from the application and then works with the model to prepare any data needed by the view. The view then uses the data prepared by the controller to generate a final response. So the model contains the database here. So and then let's see about general architecture about MVC pattern. This one is the general architecture. In this architecture, so user can give the a response to the multiple devices. So here this flow will be different for different devices such as WAM phone, voice only phone, PCs or PDS. Here in this diagram, I think this one is the WAM phone. Yeah, this one is the WAM phone. So here we need different controllers for the different devices. Okay, here to support multiple controllers for the multiple devices. and also to avoid the duplications. Sometimes the duplication will occur. To avoid duplications of code, the command placed between located between controllers and model functions. Okay, here the command is a bean. It contains two properties. First one is input property, second one is output property. Okay, an invoker of a component sets the input properties from the command and then execute the command. After execute the command, the result can be obtained by getting the command's output property. Okay, from the output property they will get result. Okay, after that they can execute their result to the database, which means model. If the user want to view their model result using the view component, they will view their result. Next one is securing pervasive computing applications. Here using some mechanism like encryption, authentication and authorization, the web application provides some security to the pervasive devices. Okay, so this one for example, let's take one example for this securing pervasive computing applications. This diagram shows which a user access a function of a particular web application, which means WAM phone, uh, from a WAM phone. Here all incoming requests can verify by a device connectivity infrastructure. Through this infrastructure, the user can give the request to the server. So in this infrastructure, it contains different gateways. Using that gateways, they can give the request to the server. The user can give the request or authentication to the secure access. Here the secure access component is the only system component allowed to invoke application function. So using the security policy, it will check all incoming requests and applications functions. So if it is right, the security access can send their authentication to the database through the application. If it is not right, it will redirect to the user. So here the security access can check their state using the security state. It is the part of section state. After that, the database can send their response to the content delivery through the bean. After that, the content delivery can send their response to the particular user's device. Okay, this one is the secure pervasive access architecture. Okay. Next one we are going to see about authentication proxy. So how the web application can give the security to the pervasive devices using some approaches. So the first one is authentication proxies. In this authentication proxies, it support two requests. The first one is first request, second one is subsequent request. Using the formal based authentication with a WAM phone, they can give the security to the devices. Take the example for this one. Let's take the authentication for WAM phone. So in this form based authentication with a WAM phone, it will follows 11 steps. Okay, first user can give the request to the application that is intercepted by the proxy, and then The proxy check whether a section already exists for the device. After that, if it is right, the proxy can invoke authentication to the particular devices. Here the devices is form-based authentication. After the authentication can perform to the user authentication, and then it can send their result to the session. Here the session can check whether the user can authorized or not. After that, the proxy get their request response from that session, check with the security policy. The security policy uh, provide the right answer if the user is authorized or not. If it is authorized, the proxy invoke application. After that, that application send the response to the proxy. The proxy can send their response to the user device. This one is the first approach, formal based authentication with a WAMP phone in first request. Second one is the subsequent request. This subsequent request is basic architecture for between the client and server. So here the user send their request to the WAMP phone to the applications, and then that proxy can check with the session whether the user is authorized or not. After that the proxy check with the security policy. If it is right, they can invoke the application to the server. After that, respond the application can respond to the proxy. The proxy provide the response to the particular user. And second approach is framework. So here using some framework, the pervasive web application can provide the security to the pervasive devices. Okay. So using MVC pattern, they will provide the security to the pervasive devices. So before the user can give the request, they can give the request to the authentication. Okay. In the user must authenticate with the servlet. After that, the authentication provide the security state. That state can send their web application to the secure servlet. After that, it can check with the security policy. If it is right, they can send their request to the controller. So in the right hand side, it contains the MVC patterns or applications. So after that, it will perform their instruction. So this are all about frameworks. Using that MVC application, how the web application provide the security to the pervasive devices. So this are all about um, pervasive application architecture. Okay, thank you, students.